Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be assembling Fiona's Cafe from scale model scenery. This is a paper kit numbered KX012-00 and the 00 represents the scale. Right, let's see what's inside. We have a clear sheet with some printing on, these must be the windows, and the rest of this kit is composed of card and paper, and the cardboard pieces have already been die cut so they don't take much to remove, but the paper pieces will need cutting out with a ruler and a craft knife. Right, first of all, let's check out the actual pieces of the kit. These cardboard pieces will form the actual structure and the strength, while the paper pieces are for all the decorations. As well as that, we have the instructions, all in full colour. Starting off with a guide for the tools and materials required. And then we have 4 A4 sheets dedicated to the actual assembly. And there's 55 steps to follow in total. Some of the instructions are designed only for those working off photocopies, but otherwise for the most part they apply directly for this kit. Right, now for step number 1, we need to remove these two sides of the building from the cardboard kit. Now, as I've already said before, they have been pre-cut, they just need the tabs cutting off. And then they'll drop out without much effort. And then we follow the same process when it comes to removing all the doors and windows. You have to watch the corners as that's where the card tends to get stuck. You can already see that this kit is time consuming, so it's a good idea to put on some music and zone out a little bit. Next we're moving on to the paper sheet and we're cutting out the interior. And we also have to cut out all the crosses so we can open the doors and windows. You'll see why in just a moment. Next, I glue the inside and outside together with PVA glue. I use a cotton bud for that nice even coverage, because we don't want any lumps. Once both halves are lined up, you can see where the windows overlap. Then it's just a matter of gluing the paper around the card and gluing down the tabs. I repeat the same process for the end of the walls, and then I cut out the outer wall pieces for each side, and these are specifically for the windows, which simply need cutting out and gluing into place with PVA glue. Since PVA is a slow setting glue, you need to leave it a few minutes between stages and give it a chance to make a secure bond. I also put weights on top of these to ensure they don't peel while setting. And then the next step is to glue all the inner and outer wall pieces together. I just need to make sure the correct pieces are matched up and they're perfectly aligned. And once again, these will need some weight applied to help them set. Even though it's not mentioned in the instructions, you are supposed to cut out the cellophane in the door. I didn't realise this until later on when I couldn't complete the next step, so there's no immediate rush to get it done. I've now cut out the outside wall pieces, but since I'm using cellophane for the glass, I need to cut out all these black areas, and this task is a real pain in the backside. Plus the paper is very easy to tear at this scale, so you have to try and be very slow and very careful. But I eventually got it all done and glued on the front and the back. Now I'm told not to glue on the end pieces or glue on the wraparound yet, with the exception of the door. For the next step we assemble the floor. I mean doubling up the card pieces, then putting on the graphics. And then we can start gluing on the wall pieces. I put on the end first and trap it between 1, 2, 3 blocks, and this will keep it straight. Then I slowly work my way around, giving each joint time to set. And once all sides are on, these tags can be folded down and glued in place. And then the full side wall can be glued straight on top of it. And then that's the basic exterior complete. It is hard to make it look perfect at this scale, so you have to do the best you can. Then if you turn it upside down, we need to glue on the underside. You may choose not to put this on, as you can't really see it. Next, I cut out these strips and glue them together in pairs. Then they need gluing to these wraps, then folding round until they're completely covered. And once that's done, they all need to be glued to the underside of the building. I find it easier to do the middle one first, then space the other two out evenly. These don't have to be too neat, because nobody's ever going to really see them. And while the glue's setting, we start building some furniture. First up is a countertop. There's 4 sides, 2 long and 2 short, plus there's also a countertop. And once these have been assembled, the appropriate graphics need cutting out and glued into place. This can be completed in stages, which allows the glue to dry on one part while you're working on another. The cupboards are now glued into place. When it comes to the tabletop, I need to wrap the graphics around it, and this should hide all the seams. The flat edge of a craft knife is very useful for this, with it being small and fiddly, and once again you need to be very patient while doing this. And once the glue is set, both pieces can be joined together. I'll glue this down inside the building at a later stage, but for now I have another piece of furniture to work on, and that's the fridge. We follow the same principle, build up all of your sides, then wrap around the graphics. So once it's aligned up, I put the top down first, and then I completely wrap one side, followed by the other, and you end up with an overlap at the back. And this is the part which is going to be pushed up against the wall, so you won't see it. Next, I glue the ceiling section onto a single piece of card, and while that's setting, I can start work on the roof. This needs to be quite thick and requires 3 pieces of card to be stuck together. Glue can shrink and warp when it dries, so it's always best to apply weight. And then for the next step, I can wrap around the roof graphics. You've probably already guessed what the blank space is for in the middle, and this is where the ceiling will be attached. You just have to bear in mind to leave an equal space all the way around the edges. Next, I put together the main Fiona's Cafe sign. I also cut out the 4 A-frames which will hold this up, and those are gingerly glued into place at the back. I also assembled the 2 smaller signs, but unfortunately the A-frames which are supposed to support these are very small and fragile. So I basically cut out my own using some scrap cardboard, and once they're glued into place, nobody should really notice. Next, I assemble and wrap the gas box, and this will go on the outside of the building, and I also glue on the warning label. We're getting close to the end now, so next I cut out and wrap the door. All these pieces will be put into place once the glue's had a chance to set. The front steps are made up of 2 narrow and 2 wide pieces of card. There are 4 support beams running down the side of this building. In order to create them, I glue the strips together in pairs, and then I need to paint these a burgundy red colour to match that of the building. This dark red is the nearest that I have. And now we can start adding in all the furniture and the signage. These can go on pretty much anywhere, but I'm going to match the cover artwork. I managed to find places for most of the signs, although a couple of them will only suit it for a diorama. And by using PVA glue, you've got time to nudge it into place before it sets. I also glue in the serving counter and the drink cooler. The door is designed to be left half open, although you can always choose to have it closed. Next, I glued into place the gas box and the stairs. I'm going to leave the glue to set for a couple of hours before I finish this off, because I'm going to glue the roof into place, which means I'll have no further access to the interior if something falls out of place. Because it's several layers thick, it needs a weight to hold it flat. And once it's set in place, I can go on the supports at the front and the rear. And following that, I stick on the large sign at the front of the roof, and the 2 smaller ones go at either side, and that's it, this is now completed. There's no doubt about it that this is a very detailed kit, but it's also very fiddly, and it's almost impossible to make it look as nice as a plastic kit, but that's purely down to the incredibly small scale and the fact that paper tears so easily. When all is said and done, I actually quite like this kit, but for me, this is one that remains in the background, and that way it's much harder to see all the imperfect details. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.